Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be about my quarter-mile time when I was drag racing this car. I know that most of you who are clicking on this video just want to hear the time right away, so I'm going to get to that fairly quickly. But if you want to hear the story time with how it all went, stick around for the rest of the video. But without further ado, this was my quarter-mile time with these wheels on the car, no significant engine modifications, nothing special. It was a pretty good time. I was pretty happy with it. I was surprised how good it was considering there's no modifications done, but again, it was the first run, so I just wanted to get a feel for everything. Then I bought these tires for the next time I went. So this next run has bigger diameter rear tires, and I tuned the engine to what I thought was gonna be better. So the time ended up being actually exactly the same, which was kind of disappointing because I put in quite a bit of work. Because those tires actually had a different offset, which meant I needed to run a spacer, which I didn't realize. It was a whole thing, which I'll get into. So yeah, those were my times, but now I want to just kind of talk about my experience with all of it. Because I've never drag raced before. So the track I was going to is Mission Raceway. I live pretty close to it. First drag track in Canada, I think, which is cool. I also believe it's the lowest altitude one because it's right at sea level, which is good for cars because the thicker air, higher oxygen content really helps you squeeze every bit of power out that you can. Anyways, I never raced before. I was pretty nervous, but I told myself that I had to do it this summer. So I went out there, I put down a couple times on the track. It was pretty fun. I didn't realize how fast, I know there's a couple different types of lights for the tree, or at least sequences, but when I was there, all three yellows would go and then the green would go like immediately after. I searched it up and I think it goes 0.3 seconds after the yellow, all the yellows go off. And somebody told me that, and they told me, the second you see the yellows, just punch it. And I was like, nah, I don't want to jump the line. Yeah, so that was my first run. My reaction time was 3 full seconds. Pretty impeccable, if you ask me. Anyways, it got better after that. But more importantly, the car actually handled it really well. I lost 1 bolt on my exhaust on the first run. It actually made it so it was a manifold bolt on 1 cylinder. So it was like no manifold, and I could hear it. It sounded like a lawnmower almost. And it was making the car run horribly. I got to the end of the track. Actually, when I let off the gas after I crossed the line, the car just like completely died. And so I coasted to the end. Thankfully, when I turned the key, it started back up. So that was kind of my first day experience being there. And when I was there, the reason why I bought the drag slicks was because there's this guy with a blue Volkswagen Beetle there. He had the same engine as me. He had the same year, which that's like a weird coincidence altogether. But he had those bigger tires. And he was running a 12.8 or 12.9 second quarter mile at 102 miles an hour. And I was like, damn, what's he doing that I could do? So that's why I bought those slicks for the second time I went. So I bought these things, actually. Yeah, I bought these. And so these rims are actually 6-inch wide, and those are 8-inch wide. So I thought that these would just fit in there no matter what. But what I didn't realize is that the offset of this rim is the same as that rim. And if you look, you can see how much like pudge these rims have. Like the rubber bows out a lot. And what I didn't think would happen was it would hit some of the things in the back in there, like my muffler on the one side and then my suspension on both sides. So I ended up having to buy a spacer. I have a 1-inch spacer in here to make these fit. And the fitment is actually pretty crazy. These like barely tuck in the fenders. They look really cool in my opinion. It gives the car a pretty cool like retro rake to it. And the reason why I thought they would help so much is because when I'm on the track, my launch is amazing. Like I dump the clutch, first gear it just digs, and then shift into second, I'm flying. Then I shift into third, and then it's like the car really feels like it's missing something. And I knew that with the smaller diameter back tires, it was kind of like having a lower gear ratio. Or higher. I don't remember how ratios work right now, but I knew that the bigger diameter tire, although it may make my launch a little bit worse and slower, because these things still got traction, so I wasn't having a traction problem. I thought the larger diameter would help me out further down the track, because that is where I was lacking. My 1/8 mile and my 60-foot mark are actually pretty amazing times. Like I was going up against some modern day Volkswagen Golfs that were pimped out pretty good, some Audis, and I was actually beating them on the launch to the 60-foot mark, but the second we reached there, they were gone. Like they had so much distance on me. So that's why I thought the bigger diameter would work. And I ended up going there that day, and it was honestly a pretty disappointing day because I ran into this other problem in the engine bay where my coil, well, let me explain. My engine was running very poorly. It was like backfiring and just, I don't know, it was not running properly. And I didn't know what was happening. At first I thought it was the carburetors were like out of whack or something. And this guy that was there was like over and trying to help me. Little did I know he was like a carburetor expert. And when I told him what jet sizes I had in these carburetors, he told me that I'm choking the amount of fuel that this engine needs at high RPM because my jets are way too small. So that was good to know. But that wasn't my problem I was having that night. What I didn't realize is that my coil, the power to my coil was one of those like little plug style connectors, and it had actually loosened off, and when the engine was running and vibrating, it would wiggle a bunch and cause like intermittent power to my distributor. And like when I would rev it up, sometimes it all of a sudden just straight up die because it wasn't getting any spark. So at the track, I just got some vice grips and I just really crimped the shit out of it to get it to stay on there. But now I fully switched to like a bolt style, like a bolt with one of those round like bolt-on style electrical connections. I don't know any of the terms for this stuff, but so now I don't have to worry about that ever happening again. Those shouldn't loosen off on their own ever. But yeah, I'm pretty disappointed that I couldn't go for a third time this year. By the time I actually like got around to racing, it was getting towards the end of the summer anyways. And the last couple track days I could have gone to, it was just absolutely pouring rain. And as I was telling you about what the guy was saying about the carburetors, I actually went and bought some bigger jets for these carbs and rebuilt them. And it like woke this engine right up. It just absolutely flies now like it never has before. It felt like, it sounds stupid, but it felt like it had a turbo on it, because usually when I'm driving, I can feel the RPM hit like a plateau, whereas now the RPM goes up and then it just keeps going up. Like I actually haven't even found the plateau because I'm not doing that on open streets. So I'm pretty excited for next season for doing all that. If you want to see, I have 2 videos that you might be interested in if you watch this. I have one about talking about the rims and tires on this car, and I have one talking about that carburetor tuning and adjustment if you wanted to check those out. So yeah, that basically sums up my racing that I've done this summer. I would have liked to actually record and talk about it while I was out, but I was just so nervous and wanting to experience it without recording it. I also hate recording in public. It feels so awkward, but maybe I'll get better at it one day. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of my video, nobody actually does, it seems. But I hope to see you guys in my next video.